All right. Hey, guys. Happy Monday. Thanks for joining me. I've got the link pinned for call ins if anybody wants to call in and have a little chat. Going to be talking about the No Kings protests. Unfortunately, it's a lot that was going on this weekend. Apparently, the nursing homes unlocked their doors and pushed all the old people outside, and they all ended up at the No Kings rallies. So, it doesn't really make much sense, but grandma's apparently off of her meds, thinking that we have a king in this country or something, and thinks she's living 250 years ago. It's a bizarre situation. I don't I I don't know who came up with the branding for this protest. No kings. That doesn't resonate with anybody. And the kings that we do know about, like King Charles, he's not a threat to anybody. He's basically just an icon, a symbol. Doesn't really have much power. But anyway, these old boomers, thinking they're back in the 60s and 70s, are out here in the streets protesting and thinking they're really doing something, really changing the world, and really helping things out. But they're not really accomplishing anything other than making themselves look kind of stupid. They are getting, brownie points from their peers who act like they're saving the country or saving democracy or something stupid like that. But it's basically just a bunch of old white people, like all these protests. There's a young person here and there, but probably because they're keeping an eye on grandma so she doesn't wander off and get lost. And there's an occasional diversity person there, occasional black person or occasional Hispanic or something like that. But it's almost all old white ladies who drag their husbands there so that they can feel like their life has meaning and purpose, and they're not just at the end and gonna die alone with no purpose or meaning. It's really, and the left was really hyping this thing up like it was the biggest thing in the history of the country. And they were claiming there was 7 million people showed up to these protests all across the country. Now, I don't know if that's true. There's people who've been from the other side who've been claiming that there was like 650,000. And so they weren't even at the 10% of 7 million. But I don't know. I mean, the crowds looked large in some of the shots that I saw. And there's people claiming that some of the shots were recycled footage from the Women's March in 2017 or 2018. And so you don't really know what to take all this for. But here's there's some footage of just normal people, not news stations. And, it's basically a bunch of old white people cosplaying as saviors of democracy. And a lot of these people, they couldn't even tell you anything that they're doing, why they're even there, anything to do with this. How is Trump acting like a king? And the king terminology just doesn't even resonate with anybody. If they were to say no dictators or something, that would make more sense. Then it would be in line with all the propaganda they've been pushing for the last year. Well, last 10 years, really. Trump, Hitler, Nazi, dictator, authoritarian, yada, yada, yada. You know it all. I've heard it thousands of times. That would have. So I'm really wondering who's behind the branding of this, and why did they brand it No Kings? And then why did they go? And then it was even in Europe they were having it, but they changed it in the UK from No Kings to, I don't know, No Tyranny or something equally as stupid. But let's just get into watching this first clip here, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Unite to protect us, just in case universities try to teach us, just in case protesters try to show up and remind us of who we are. They go after step 8. They try to break civil society because they're preparing us for step 9. There are 10 steps to protecting our patriots. There are 10 steps to protecting our democracy. There are 10 steps to protecting our right.
Yeah, so basically a sea of old white people, even though Atlanta is something, I don't know, like 40% black, and, I think there's maybe one there. You know, the people of inclusion and diversity, and they are the most milk toast homogenous group you can find in the country. So apparently they're all on the same email chain or something, or they all watch MSNBC, and that's how these people all know to go and do this stuff. Like it's just so silly, and they just makes them look really out of touch and like they're living in the past, and they don't really have any solutions for anything or ways that they would improve society or the world and make all of our lives better. Um, if anybody's interested in calling in, go ahead and click on the link that I have pinned there to the top. You can call in, we can chat if you want. Yeah, so this is one of, and this is basically what all of them look like. They all look the same exact people are at all of these rallies. And they've got their little pride flag and, you know, acting like they're doing something. Take a look at this one. 75. A couple young people there. Not many. Any minorities? It's so dumb. So basically, they're playing around. They're acting and uh, acting like they're some kind of revolutionaries. Sticking it to the man, standing up for democracy when the man's holding them down. Like they're reliving their 70s, 60s, and 70s glory days when they were kids, and they're just looking for reasons to find something to go out and act like that again so that they can feel like they're meaningful and youthful again, but they just look silly. you know Prison without due process is a concentration camp. They're saving democracy by standing around holding some signs. So this is just pure performative. Like these people are actually going to think that they did something. This accomplished nothing. It made no point whatsoever because "No Kings" is a stupid slogan that doesn't resonate with anybody. If anything, all it did was made Trump look funnier than he already is because he trolled them with king memes and AI videos. And they're just gonna keep doing this stuff for the next 4 years, next 3 years. They really don't have a point. That how is Trump a king? Because he's enforcing the laws that Congress created. That's how a king operates. A king just sits idly by as people go and protest against him. A king gets kicked, gets taken to court. A king gets, it doesn't make any sense. We don't even know what kings are in the United States. So to have this and be no kings doesn't resonate with anybody. It's just a bunch of sheep who herd around and flock to all this, and somebody told them to do it. And so I guess that's what we're doing. They're not thoughtful. They don't have good opinions about anything. So here's what Family Guy had a little bit to say about these No Kings protests. I thought this was pretty good.
What do we want?
We don't know.
When do we want it?
Also unclear.
Why do we want it?
Because it was forwarded to us in an email, so it must be true. Yeah!
This is the mentality of these people. You can't take them seriously. No, there's no reason to take any of this stuff seriously. That these people are really fighting to save democracy or any of that kind of stuff. That's just all garbage nonsense. And everybody knows it. Even the people, half the people probably at it know that this is just, well, we didn't have anything else going on a Saturday, so we might as well go enjoy the nice weather, stand around, hold a sign that shows how dedicated we are to democracy. Now, when Biden is going after his opponents and they're kicking them off social media, arresting them, sending them to prison, and nobody's talking about Biden being a king. Nobody's concerned about that at all. That's much more what a king would do. Cram their ideology down everybody's throat and imprison the ones that disagree. Let's see. Here's the No Kings protest in, where's this? North Carolina. You notice a theme here? Yeah. Well, there's some old ladies there. Well, there's some old people. There's some old white people, old white ladies dragging their husbands there. Average age 74, average IQ 74. So, not much really happening there. A bunch of liberal social media people were trying to talk this up and hype this up and act like this was the greatest protest in the history of America and the most people ever, and that this was some kind of big thing. And it just fell flat. Nobody even cares. No one thinks that this is meaningful in any way whatsoever. They'll probably do 3 or 4 more of them just because these people have nothing else to do and they need a reason to get out of the nursing home. And they need a reason for their grandchildren to come and see them so they can guilt them into taking them to a protest like this where they can hang out with some of their old-timey friends and then get back around 2:00 for a nap and bingo before they get tucked into bed at night. So, but what is really interesting, I think, is when people go and talk to some of these protesters, and they're basically morons. They don't know what they're doing there. They don't know anything.
Voter ID is racist, yeah? Like, should you need an ID to vote?
No, I don't think so, no.
Is it racist that CVS asks you for an ID to buy Sudafed?
Well, I think that there are certain people that should not be allowed to buy Sudafed, so I think it's a good idea.
So it's more important that you use an ID to buy Sudafed, but not to vote for the person that runs this country.
I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah. That's basically 99% of the people at these No Kings protests, right? They're there to dress up and to have fun and to act like they're doing something without actually doing any real work. And they don't know anything. They live in an echo chamber. They don't have thoughts. They don't have good reasoning abilities or skills. So this moron here just said that he thinks you should have an ID to buy Sudafed, but right before that said he didn't need an ID to vote. That it's racist. So but it's not racist to not allow people without IDs to buy Sudafed or to get on an airplane. And the whole the voter ID thing is racist is so retarded, and everybody knows it. It's just a smokescreen. We're supposed to think that black people don't know how to get an ID and that they don't have IDs? They fly on planes. They buy Sudafed. They drive cars. It's more of this racism of low expectation from the left. They just, well, what are we going to do? How are these morons who don't know how to get an ID, how are they going to vote? which basically there are none of those people. Nobody is incapable of getting an ID. This is just, but you get Gramps here, who's been told the same thing over and over and over by MSNBC and CNN, and he just I don't know, yeah, he has no thoughts of his own. He has no logic. He has no reason. He just simply parrots what the instructions are. All these people are all just sheep, following each other around, saying the same thing over and over again, as if it's meaningful. No kings, Hitler, Nazi, fascist. And then when you actually inquire just a tiny little bit to test their logic, everything falls apart, crumbles, and they don't know which way's up. Are we supposed to take these people seriously? These guys are the boomers that screwed everything up because they're morons. They don't think about the future. They don't have logical conclusions. They don't know. They just are doing, not really for any purpose or meaning or what. They're doing for the sake of doing. But they make for some good laughs because they're kind of dumb. So Trump was having a good time with this, and so he was, Trump and JD Vance making some funny memes about this. So let's take a look at some of these. That is so good. That is so good. They are so good at this. I love it how he's got Nancy Pelosi bowing down to him from the BLM. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. How can you not just think that's hilarious? The no kings thing is so stupid to begin with. This is about the only response you can have to it is just mock it, make fun of it, troll it. Because these are not serious people. These are not serious people with serious arguments or serious complaints or serious thoughts. They're not. They're never gonna be. They never intended to be. So just make fun of them and just get them all worked up in a lather because their whole worldview and their entire platform is just their emotional reactions. So they react to this emotionally. Donald Trump putting on a crown. See, he does think he's a king. I knew it. I knew it all along. And they don't understand that they're the butt of the joke. Because they're just so out of touch that they actually think Trump is acting like a king. All he's doing is enforcing the laws and carrying out the will of the people that elected him. Not at all like what a king does. But then again, who's going to ask the left and Democrats to be logically consistent? They gave up on that long ago. They just say shit, and what they try to do is they try to create a narrative, and they think they can still get away with this. They used to be able to get away with it when the mainstream media was all anybody watched and had access to. They could weave this narrative full of lies and distortions all they wanted to, and they could perpetrate it upon the people, and then that narrative would end up being believed as if it were true. So if there was no social media, they would be able to portray Trump in the most kingly way that they wanted to, and people would just think, wow, gosh, this is really serious. Now that's all done. It's dead. It's over. Nobody listens to the mainstream media anymore. And they are not liking it. They're throwing a fit. we're supposed to be the ones in control of the narrative. We're supposed to be the ones who get to tell everybody what to think, and they're supposed to just do what we tell them to do. If we say Trump's a king, then Trump's a king. If we say Trump's a dictator, then Trump's a dictator. And they'll lie and they'll distort things and they'll deceive, and it's all in. So this is the difference, right? The liberals, they think that whatever you have to do to further the cause, then it's noble. If you have to lie, if you have to distort, if you have to propagandize in order to get to Trump bad, then all of that's fine. And actually, it's noble and it's fair and it's fine. It's actually really similar to what Muslims do, and maybe this is why liberals and Muslims have somehow, for some reason, joined arms in this march against the Western world. So Muslims can lie or deceive in order to further the cause of Islam. Now, everybody will tell you, no, they don't. They don't really believe that. It's only if they're like under distress, they can. No, that's retarded, and everybody knows it. The goal is to further Islam, and the ends justify the means. So any means by which you have to do that, if that means withholding information, distorting information, lying about your true intentions because it helps Islam grow and spread, then that's noble, that's good, that's righteous. And the liberals have a very similar worldview. The ends justify the means. By whatever means you have to win the culture war or win the political power or destroy an opponent, any means possible. If that means you make up fake charges and put them in prison, then you can do that. If it means creating a mythological narrative and perpetrating upon people through propaganda, then that's fine. If you got lies in there and distortions, that's okay, as long as those lies and distortions further the righteous cause, then it's fine, because the end goal is what's righteous, and the means to get there are just tools in the toolkit. But the real goal is the end point that you're trying to achieve. Now, conservatives are different in this, in that we actually care about facts and truth. And you can't use lies to further a righteous end. That's not how it works. The whole process has to be righteous. You should be honest. You should be truthful as you're trying to further your goal. This kind of bites us in the ass a lot of times, though, because we think that other people are coming from that same orientation. And we think, oh, well, these people wouldn't just blatantly lie about things. That would be wrong. And then they blatantly lie and we believe them. And that's what we've been doing for 50 years. Because we think that they have the same moral orientation as we do, but they don't. If they need to bomb buildings in order to create social change, then that's fine. That's righteous. Whereas we think bombing buildings is probably a bad thing, right? So if that's how you have to accomplish your end goal, then maybe there's something wrong with you, something wrong with your end goal. If you can't do the whole process nobly, then that's a problem. You know, truth matters to conservatives. Selective truths matter to liberals. They like the truths that they like, and then those are the ones that they hold on to, and they reject the ones that challenge their worldview. Conservatives try to take the truths and combine them all into a whole system. You know, if the liberals like socialism, they reject all the data and all the truths that show how shitty of a system it is. And they'll cherry pick one instance in which it maybe kind of sort of worked. And then that's the one that they'll talk about. Because they start with their end in mind. And then everything else is oriented around that. It's like the exact opposite of the scientific method. It's sort of like a religious way of thinking about things. Like, these things are true, and then we'll go backwards and we'll find the data we want that makes it look true. Right? it's a different thought process where I know that peppermint heals cancer, therefore I'll find all the ways in which I can create a narrative that says that peppermint cures cancer. It's that kind of a thinking. It's not like, okay, well, that's the claim, so let's test it. Oh, no, it doesn't, so therefore throw that out. No, they hold on to it, and just like sort of religious worldviews. They're not interested in following a logical chain of facts. And so that's why they feel so justified in lying all the time on news, because they already have what they want to be the end result of the narrative that they're crafting. They want, let's say in this instance, for Trump to be a bad guy Hitler type. Well, then everything that comes before that end conclusion that they're using in that process, all of it has to be in service to that end goal. It doesn't mean that he actually is one, but that's what they want him to be portrayed as. So then they'll cherry pick and they'll find and they'll twist and they'll distort and all this in order to get to that end goal. And, I think Americans, probably people in Europe as well, have just had enough of it. And now that we have X, we can actually fact check these people and see how they're distorting things and how they're twisting things, how they're just blatantly lying about other things. And so that's good. That's why conservatives love X and Republicans love X, because we're finally getting truth, and then all the liberals run over to Blue Sky where they can just live in their little echo chamber of lies and distortions. And because they don't like the truth. So what do you do with people like that? Well, you can't really talk to them or have an honest conversation, because there's no reasoning with these people, because they start with their conclusion. It's like arguing with a religious fundamentalist. There's no argument to be made. You could never convince them that a virgin didn't give birth to a guy. There's no way. And so what basically all you can do is to mock them and mock their ideas and to make fun of them. So here's another one. I thought this one was pretty good. Looks pretty good. AI's getting pretty good. That looks good on Trump, don't you think? It suits him. Yeah, so this is just basically all you can do when you've got these morons out there running around claiming that they're standing up for democracy and we're not going to allow a king to take back over this country. Everybody knows it's silly and it's stupid. But this was the one that really got them worked up here. This one, there's been a lot of comments about this. Oh gosh, they lost their minds over this. This is basically how Trump treats America. He just shits all over it. That's his MO. That's what he does. And it's just like, you don't get it. First of all, he's just dumping shit on the protesters, right? He's shitting on them, just like with the two previous videos I showed you where he's dressed up like a king. He's shitting on them. He's saying you people are just so dumb. You're talking nonsense. You can't reason with these people. So you just have to make fun of them. And I love how Harry Sisson gets shit on there. That's funny. I don't know who's in charge of making all these videos, but these people have a great sense of humor. It's hilarious. Oh gosh. I want more of it. I mean, it's just they're so good at this. And all the lefties are all butthurt about it, like they get with everything. They have no sense of humor anymore. Now, I remember when I was growing up, I thought all the funniest people and the people with the great sense of humor were all like left wing Democrat people, and they were hilarious because they were the ones who were um, challenging the norms of society and making fun of all the rules and all that kind of stuff. And now you couldn't pay them to make fun of any of these unspoken politically correct views. You couldn't pay them to make fun of a transgender. They would not do it. And so they had just completely gotten um, really stale and like a bunch of prudes. And if you say anything that's slightly out of line, they're butt puckers, and they judge and they shame. It's like they've become the religious conservatives from the 80s and 90s, where it's like, hey, don't mention Black Sabbath or else, geez, mom will come unglued because she thinks you're worshiping the devil. Like you can't have a serious intellectual argument with people like this. You just have to ignore them basically or make fun of them. And I've had a lot of conversations with conservative fundamentalist Christians over the years, and they think exactly like how the liberals think today in terms of don't challenge my ideas. That's too scary because I don't have any good reasons for them and I don't have any way to back them up. And now that's the attitude of the liberals now. They can't back up how Trump's a king. They've got no information, no data. They don't care. They just know that their group, this is how collectives work. Their group says that this is what they're supposed to think and what they're supposed to say, and so then they just mimic that, and they think that somehow is true. And religious groups are no different. It's all groupthink. So anyway, that's enough with the no kings thing. Oh wait, no, it's not. Sorry, I lied. I got a couple more of these videos. I just think it's funny when they talk to people on the streets. I like to hear how these people think.
We're out here at the No Kings protest, and we're asking all the important questions, such as if Trump was elected, how exactly is he a king?
An elected king. Imagine that.
Is trying to take control of everything. Like his checks and balances are not working, so he is just trying to completely disregard the Constitution.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of amendments have been kind of overcome, like in a way that they're not supposed to be. Yeah, which amendment specifically? The first one.
Now, granted, this is on the street, and these are young people, and they got a camera in their face, so it's going to be tough to kind of answer some of these questions. Just rattle them off, and I agree. It would be they're intimidated and they're sort of stressed out here, and so they're not going to be able to think quickly or straight. And it's not like they have they just rehearsed all their answers and thought about these things this morning. So it's going to take them some time to think of things. So you got to give them a little bit of grace there. But, basically this is just stupid shit that you hear, like the First Amendment. Trump hates the First Amendment. Trump. This guy loves the First Amendment more than anybody because look at the kind of shit that he says and he gets away with. And it's because of the First Amendment. And he doesn't, because of Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, give me a break. Biden had pressured social media companies to kick conservatives off, to ban them for life, to kick Trump off. Like, it's just. So was Biden a king?
Trying to take away our
freedom of protesting.
He's taking away freedom of protest while she's at a protest. I say, these people, they've got nothing. They've got nothing. Just a bunch of emotion. Oh, I feel real worked up about Trump, so I must be right. You know, and they haven't thought through any issues. They don't even know what amendments are what or what the Constitution. They don't know anything.
I would say that it's because even though he was elected, I agree, due process, he got what he got elected fairly, sure. But he's doing things that make him the king. Like he's taking away, civil rights.
He's taking away civil rights. What? What's at least that guy admitted that he got elected fairly, duly elected, and it's not trying to, who was it? Kathy Griffin has been trying to push off this election conspiracy nonsense where it was a fraud, as if the Republicans have the sort of backbone or authority or resources to defraud an election. I mean, give me a break.
That's a great question. I don't particularly think he's a king. It's how people are viewing him as.
Actively switching the levers of power in order to subvert elections.
And what does that mean?
Things such as trouble coming up with words.
Trump's trying to subvert elections? When? Where? What are these people talking? Who tells these people this stuff? It's where do they get their talking points? Because that's just so ridiculous. What has he subverted? He endorses people. He says this person should run for that. That's it. He can't subvert an election. If anything, he's trying to prevent elections from being subverted with paper ballots and voter ID and all that kind of stuff. Because there's a lot of shady stuff that's been going on in 2016 and 2020. But, you can't expect too much from people. Let's see what this.
So what brings you out today?
No King's Day.
And why specifically are you out supporting No King's Day?
I think protest is...
I wonder what she's got against Burger King, really. I mean, why are you throwing them under the bus? They don't have anything to do with this. They just like to make good burgers. Okay, lady? So why are you trashing their logo and saying no to Burger King? Huh? Are you trying to bankrupt their company? Are you trying to say something here?
It's important.
Why are you protesting?
How much time do you have?
A couple minutes. And what's the main reason you're out here protesting President Trump?
I agree with a lot of the decisions that are being made.
Is there any decision in particular you disagree with?
Okay, so I would start with well,
that's a good one.
I don't even think it's appropriate for me to have this interview.
It's not appropriate because I don't know anything, because I don't have any answers. So this is, inappropriate. That's funny, and you could find thousands of these things. These people, my assumption is that if you go to a protest and you take time out of your day and you're going to make a sign and you're going to go and travel, who knows how far or whatever, to go to one of these things, you would think that you would actually know why, or you'd actually have reasons for doing it. But I guess shame on me for thinking that that's how people do things. I guess I'm projecting onto them how I would do things and why I would do things, but they don't seem to have that same kind of attitude. And, I think it's more just like a social thing for these people. They're not into sports. And so they don't get to gather with a group of people to root anything on. And so this is as close as it gets to them because, they were theater kids and, and now they're back to acting with their friends. All right. Let's see what else we got. Have you noticed what's going on in Charlotte? Why is there so much crime happening in Charlotte? It just seems like every day I'm getting notifications about this person shot, that person shot, this guy arrested 39 times, is let out, and now he's stabbed so and so. Like, what in the world is going on there? You know, they have a mayoral race, and so let's hope that Lyles gets replaced. And because she is such a mess that it's ridiculous. Take a look at this chart here. This is when Lyles took office. This is the total number of homicides per year. 57 when she came in. Look at it since. 103, 120. It's doubled the number of homicides. And it stayed around 100, 110, you know, almost stayed at the doubled rate. Why do Democrats, she's a Democrat, obviously, city council stacked full of Democrats. The district attorney is a Democrat who believes in these, you know, basically no policing policies, cashless bail, because of course, always in the name of justice, you know, racial, evening the racial lines and all that kind of bullshit. But what happens is now 50 more people are dead every year because of her. How is anybody okay with that? But this, I think, goes back to the ends justify the means. So the end is to get rid of, you know, racially, you know, racial crime, basically, people being targeted based on race. And if, you know, a couple hundred people have to die in that process of us putting the system back on an equal footing or whatever, then so be it. Like, I think honestly that this is these people's thought process. They don't really think about the victims that they're creating with these soft on crime policies. They really think that they're reforming the system and that they're reforming these criminals and that they're doing a noble thing. All the while, more people are being raped, more people are being murdered, more houses are getting broken into, more people are terrified. But the whole time, these people are patting themselves on the back, thinking that they're making a difference. Well, they are making a difference in a bad way. I mean, just think about this. 50 people a year, 50 more people a year have lost their lives since she's become mayor. 50 people. She's been mayor for 8 years. It's 400 people, at least, that are dead because of her policies. And then these are the same people who will bitch and moan about the government being closed because people are going to die. Give me a break. You don't give a shit about people dying. That couldn't be further from the truth. Democrats are not interested in victims of crime. They're not interested in protecting them. Their whole orientation is around the criminal, the illegal, the terrorist, and fighting for those people's rights. It makes absolutely no sense. Somebody call in and explain this to me. How does it make sense? From my perspective, it looks like they like crime, but they enjoy these stats. And then in the next sentence, they'll say, "Oh no, violent crime's down." See, like here, where it goes from 106 to 96, they'd pat themselves on the back and say, "Look, it's worked. Crime went down. Our criminal justice reforms are working." Well, no, because you still 50 more people are dead. than when you came into office. How's that working? It's dishonest. These people, they arrest people dozens and dozens of times. Like this 15-year-old kid in Charlotte that's been arrested 111 times. 15 years old. In the last 2 years, two and a half years, the kid's been arrested 111 times. He's only 15. You think that kid deserves to be out on the streets? That kid's guaranteed to kill somebody at some point. But you don't care about that person. You don't care about preventing that murder. And you've gotten plenty of evidence already with 111. That's like, this kid's like getting caught for a crime like every 5 days. Why would, there's no consequences for him. There's no penalties. So he just keeps committing them. So this Terry Donovan is running against Lyles. So let's hope that she wins and straightens this crap out, gets rid of this stupid district attorney who believes in these crap policies, and restores order to the city, cleans it up. Because just think of how many people's lives now have been impacted by these stupid crime policies. And think of how this has changed the dynamics in these communities to where it's innocent people who just want to live their lives, just want to go for a walk with their kids, who just want to go to the park, who just want to go get their groceries, who just want to sit on their front porch and not have to be concerned about some kind of drive-by shooting. Just those are the people that I think about. And if this 15-year-old kid is preventing all of that from happening, then he doesn't have the right to be in the community. Get out of here. It's as simple as that. You don't have a right to terrorize the community you live in. And if you want to do that, we're going to lock you up. We don't need you. You're nothing but a negative to the society. You provide nothing. You take everything. It's disgusting. Let's see. There was another one about Charlotte here. Oh, yeah, it was this. 3-year-old kid shot in Charlotte yesterday. 3-year-old child was shot, a 3-year-old child was shot and injured when gunfire struck a white work van in Charlotte. The child is awake and alert as police investigate the scene. I will guarantee you, whoever did this has a previous criminal history, right? This guy, the guy most likely who did the shooting, is probably, I'm going to say he's been arrested at least 20 times. And now a kid got shot. And then this guy will probably go to prison. They'll probably let him out on cashless bail and be like, just sign this IOU that you're going to show up again on Thursday. And that'll be fine. Right. And then let him back out into the streets with zero concern for 3-year-olds like this kid. Zero concern for the members of the community who are good, honest people. It's crazy. And speaking of people who stand up for the rights of the people who drag the community down and terrorize it, the Netherlands has done a study on immigrants and how they help or hinder their society monetarily. And to everyone's, I'm sure, shock and surprise, they found out that immigrants actually don't produce much. but actually cost a lot. The top being Somali immigrants. Hardly of any of who have jobs. They come there to sponge off the system, to take money, to take benefits, to live a peaceful, good life because their country's crap. But they don't want to contribute. They don't want to assimilate. They just want your stuff. That's basically what this study has found. Each Somali immigrant has been found to cost the public about $1.2 million over their lifetime. Now, in a functioning society, wouldn't you want them to contribute 1.2 million over their lifetime rather than take 1.2 million over their lifetime? That doesn't make any sense to allow someone like that into your country. Here, come in here and take a bunch of our money. And don't produce anything. And don't assimilate. And think your country is still better than our country. And, so this chart here is pretty interesting, actually. It's kind of small. I don't know if I can really zoom in or anything. Oh, yeah, I can. Okay. So let's just take a look here. See if you can see any of these numbers. So this is in the Netherlands. So what we're looking at is this without remigration. So all immigrants, all totaled up, and this is per 1,000. These are 1,000 euros. So this is 270,000 euros. Immigrants, all of them combined, are a net negative $270,000 cost, not benefit, cost. So all, including Americans and Japanese and Africans, Middle Eastern, all of them combined are a negative dollar amount. Now, that doesn't mean all of them are. So you can see here, Belgium, they are positive, $158,000. What I found really fascinating about this was the number one. Who do you think was number one? Should be easy for everybody to figure out who's number one. It's North Americans. You got it right here. $521,000 net positive, the highest of any group. Is that surprising? That shouldn't surprise anybody. And then you get down here to people from Thailand, Indonesia, Myanmar, negative 266,000. You get Pakistan is negative 485,000. Afghanistan, Syria, Middle East, altogether, negative $567,000. You get down here to Africa, negative 600,000. Here's the Somalis, negative 1,100 or 1,140,000. It's really a fascinating chart. I mean, look at how much these people cost the taxpayers in the Netherlands to have in their country. They basically are paying them to be there. Why would you want these people in your country? They should just want North Americans. Japanese are high. Oceania. So that would be like Australia. Other European countries, basically. Not even Eastern European countries. Western European countries. It's not surprising that people are upset at these immigrants being in their countries. They're not providing value. That's the whole point. Immigrants should create, and this is what the leaders say constantly. They're constantly saying this. Oh, they're a net benefit. They increase the GDP. They blah, blah, blah. There's no way that any of that is true. It's all just made up. It's total BS. They know it's BS, but they're gaslighting you and they're lying directly to your face. We now have statistics that show what everybody already knows, that these migrants and these immigrants are a net negative financially for the community. Oh, well, but the diversity and all this kind of stuff. Well, and the only thing anybody can ever name as a benefit of diversity is like the food choices. Do you ever notice that? Like, diversity is so great. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have the the Thai place down on the street. And it's like, that's it for some couple different dishes for some restaurants. That's why diversity is so great, because now you can go out to eat at various different world cuisine places while you're paying trillions of dollars to supplement these people's lives, while they also take your money at the restaurant. At least the restaurants should be free. You're already paying these people plenty of money. So this just shows the facts that everybody already knows. Anyone who's paying attention, they know this. Even the people who are in support of bringing in all these immigrants know this. They won't tell you that. They won't admit it, because again, the ends justify the means. If the means is a bunch of wasted money, so be it. Because the end is I need to look like a virtuous, noble person, being open and tolerant to all peoples of the world. If that means that they destroy our economy, that they destroy our society, that they destroy our civilization, so be it. That's just one of the consequences of being a really great, loving, open, tolerant person. I think that's how these morons think about this. And that's as far as it goes. It's an emotions-based appeal. It's not based on any facts, because the facts say that bringing in large amounts of outsiders is not good for your society. It's very harmful. It's very damaging. Now, you can bring in a small trickle, as Europe used to do when they had reasonable, rational immigration policies, and the United States. And the people could assimilate just fine, because you can only dilute the population so much, and before you start getting different splinter groups that don't assimilate. And everybody knows this. It's just gaslighting when people act like you're a bigot or a bad person for recognizing what's obviously true. So just if any of you guys want to call in, I got the link. You just click on it. We can chat if anybody's interested. And, guys, I would appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe, to my channel, either on, follow me on X or subscribe on YouTube. So, the immigration crisis is just not something that's going away in the UK. And it's basically going to cause a wave of right-wing politicians. I mean, the right-wing groups are just gaining ground like crazy. So you've got Farage and Reform in the UK, and they're just going up like crazy in the polling. You've got Le Pen in France. You've got the AfD in Germany. You've already seen what's happened in Poland and Hungary, where they're putting in right-wing guys and they're shutting their borders, and they're not interested in immigrants coming. They're not interested in Muslim immigrants, especially coming into their country. And what's really fascinating is their GDPs are projected to explode because they're embracing capitalistic principles. They lived through communism and they don't want any part of it. You've got Maloney in Italy, and she's like, whoa, she's impressive. She's super right wing. She's not having any of it. So kind of all over, these parties are growing and growing and growing, and it's just going to be a tidal wave of right wing, and the liberals, the left, they're just going to lose their minds. So Anyway, so in the UK, Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, has been allegedly covering up these grooming gangs. He claims that he doesn't know anything about them. Do I have that? Yeah, here in this clip, it's him being interviewed, and he's acts like he doesn't know what these grooming gangs are.
Question last week, and you found every which way but not to answer it. Just how many grooming gangs have we got in London?
To avoid any misunderstanding, can she define what she means by that?
Yes. If you look at what's gone on in Rotherham,
What's a grooming gang? I've never heard this term before. He's the mayor of London, and somehow us regular people out here know what grooming gangs are, and this guy doesn't, even though they're right there in his backyard. I mean, how stupid does he think everybody is? And this is what I'm saying. This is the lies that these people can get away with, because they just lie, because the end justifies the means. So if they have to lie, if they have to deny, if it's under oath or whatever, and he's got it doubly bad because he's both liberal and he's both leftist and he's a Muslim. Both groups of which say you can lie to further your ends. The truth doesn't matter. What matters is the accomplishment of the end goal. So he just blatantly lies when all of us know that he's lying, because we've seen the videos, we've seen the reports, we've seen there's been people who've been reporting on this for years,
where there are people taking young girls, grooming them for sex. That is what I'm talking about.
We know there are issues about exploitation of young people, but they're not as defined by the member in her definition of what those types of gangs are.
See, this is a game that people play, not just lefties or everybody plays these games. What he's doing here is like, oh, well, you have to have the exact, perfect, precise definition lined out, and if it's not every single word is the word that I think of, then I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what grooming gangs are because the definition has to be word for word the definition that you have for grooming gangs. It's a way of not answering, and it's a way of dismissing, and it's a way of deflecting, and it's a way of being dishonest and being a weasel. And that's what this guy is.
So are you saying we haven't got the same sort of gangs that are in Rotherham, Bradford, and lots of other places in the country?
Just for what's a misunderstanding, what does she mean by that?
You know full well what I mean by that. It's all over the television. You know exactly what I mean by that. These gangs of people that are grooming young girls for sex. Do we actually have those in London?
Today, I'm unclear, Chair, what is meant by the question. If she could spell it out, I can answer.
I've just spelt it out. Are you not listening?
Yeah.
It's the sort of gangs that groom young girls at a young age for sex. Exactly how much clearer do you want me to be?
Right. Exactly. And he just acts like he does. He is so clueless. I don't know what she's talking about. What are those things? What is sex? What is a gang? What is a grooming? What is, playing dumb? And now it's coming out that this jackass is being allegedly has covered up for these gangs, and that should surprise nobody, because only that's the answer you would give if you're covering up for them. You don't want them to be exposed. It's just more lefties loving crime. And in his case, it's mixed up with Islam, and he doesn't want the community to get a bad reputation, because then people might stop wanting to let him in here, and then that would affect the takeover. So even if he has to lie about grooming gangs, he can do that because it protects the Muslim community and it allows them to grow stronger. Never mind that there's victims out there whose lives have been shattered, who've had the most heinous and horrific things happen to them. I mean, there's story after story after story. I was reading one this morning where I think it was like this 12-year-old girl. They locked her in a cage. They abused her sexually daily, and then eventually killed her and threw her away. I mean, that's what these people do. It's disgusting. And Sadiq Khan just, nope, that doesn't happen. Don't know what you're talking about. These people are immoral monsters. They have to be removed. What are you doing, UK? Get rid of these people. So anyway, here's the allegations that he covered up these gangs.
We've been talking about this for a very long time. In fact, we were speaking about this issue on this show just a matter of weeks ago. And the Daily Express front page today has just landed on my lap. The Mayor, Sadiq Khan of London, of course, accused over grooming gangs cover-up in the capital. Sadiq Khan has been accused of covering up evidence of grooming gangs in London after an Express investigation. I'm going to try and dig into this front page as much as possible. But, of course, we did a report on this only a few weeks ago, looking at an investigator and a former Met Police detective had spoken out and said that, along the line of these things, Adam, it doesn't surprise me that there are grooming gangs in London. And of course, we don't know if this is true. We can't accuse him of covering anything else. We don't know for sure. But this evidence would suggest what the Daily Express are suggesting Sadiq Khan
anyone
has.
that didn't think there was grooming gangs in London when there's 9 million people living in London and the demographic is very much foreign-born and different cultures, you know, it's obvious that we have a grooming gang problem in our capital. That man wouldn't answer any questions on that when Susan Hall put it to him in City Hall. I think he's the most untrustworthy and I think he's the most unpopular politician, apart from Keir Starmer, in this country. He's hated by everyone that I know. And it would not surprise me, again, this is an accusation, it's not proven, but of course we've got grooming gangs in London. That's just a fact.
So, Sebastian, this is you're a councillor in.
Somehow this guy's more informed than the mayor of the city, right? So this guy, of course, we know that there are. We've seen the reports. We've been talking about this for years. And Khan just sits up there, acts like he doesn't have the slightest clue about what anybody's talking about, right? And he said this, and these gangs. This guy here, he was gentle about it. We have demographics, people from other countries or whatever he said. No, it's basically Muslims. It's just Muslims doing this, and most of them are from Afghanistan. You know, so it's not like it's this vague, mysterious thing, and that just somehow because immigrants, then you get more of this. This is a very specific thing, a very specific group of people with a very specific ideology, with a very specific view of how they see women. You know, it's not North American people who are coming in here and doing that. It's not people from Ireland. It's not people from Italy. It's not Chinese people. It's a very specific group of people. And they don't want to admit that because that would be meanie. Because the truth is mean. But that's just the facts. These are Muslims. Most of them are from Afghanistan. Afghanistan has a bunch of fucked up things they do to kids. So it's not surprising that they would come to your country and do the same things.
London, whereabouts are you? Westminster? Waltham Forest, thank you. Sorry, beg your pardon for Great Westminster there, beg your pardon. Of course, the mayor was going to seriously deny these claims, but we have seen him in, GLA meetings where he's refused to sort of answer this question. He's actually played a little bit with Susan Hall. I mean, we've all seen the clip where he goes, we'll define what that means. And do you think he's been deliberately evasive ever before on this issue?
I'm afraid I haven't seen the clip, so I can't in good faith give you a response to that. What I will say, though, is that I think we have a problem with sexual violence in general, violence against women and girls. And I have seen Sadiq Khan take that incredibly seriously across the board. I think we have to be careful not to make it into a race issue when we don't have to, and make sure that we are doing the right things to keep women safe. London is a city of 9 million people, as Adam says. Of course, you are going to get attacks. That is really unfortunate. And it is on all of us, whether we are elected officials, whether we are community leaders or otherwise, to be taking that incredibly, incredibly seriously.
Chloe?
So what we're hearing on the inside of The Express is that Sadiq Khan saw reports about girls being raped by gangs in hotel rooms and then went on to deny that any of this was happening. That's what they're saying in The Express.
course.
If that is the case, that is absolutely shocking. And I know, Sebastian, you said we don't need to bring in race if it's not necessary. But what we need to look at here is if he has covered something up, what was the reason for it? Was it because he's scared of being called racist? And if that is the case, then it is relevant for us to have that discussion. Absolutely.
Go on.
Let's also remember that like Rotherham and the northern cities that had the grooming gang problem were covered up because of the race of the people involved. Let's not brush that under the carpet.
Even
From
Keir Starmer
yes,
said it. Even
from
Keir
police,
Starmer. Yeah.
councillors to social workers to MPs brushed this under the carpet and wanted it to go away because it was a Pakistani community problem.
Yeah.
So let's not say that we haven't got that problem in London as well, because we definitely have.
I certainly agree with you, and I think we actually got to stop being so sensitive to people's feelings and being offended, because we have allowed issues like that to fester. And I think that's I talked about Tony Blair earlier on the show. I think that's one of the hang-ups of his time in office, is then the Tories perpetuated it, I have to say, is where we didn't have honest conversations in Britain about what was going on here, because we wanted to protect a whole group of people who are minority groups, and we wanted to have diverse Britain. Well, it's backfiring massively. Do you think this could bring down Sadiq Khan?
Yeah. So the standard failure of liberal lefty policy. So we can't actually be honest and talk about it because there might be hurt feelings from some group, even though it's such crazy nonsense. They're worried about, a minority group getting a bad reputation. And so they have to protect all those people. Meanwhile, there's little girls out there getting raped. But that's not as important as the feelings of the minority group. And more so, how the majority group feels about themselves, about the minority group. That's really what this is about. I need to feel like a good person by protecting these groups. It doesn't make them apparently feel like a good person protecting that girl whose life is destroyed. This is the backwards mentality of these people have. They think that some hurt feelings by some minorities is a bigger crime than a girl getting raped. And so they don't want to talk about it. We don't want to go there. We don't want to actually solve the problem, because if we solve the problem, we might have to do something that's uncomfortable. We might make some people uncomfortable. Yeah, you fucking pussies. That's what you have to do? Then do it. Save these kids. Instead, they sacrifice these kids on the altar of political correctness. And they wonder why the country's in an uproar and hates their guts. It's pretty simple. But these same politicians who let these girls' lives get destroyed, they think they're the good guys. Because they won't call out the perpetrators. They won't mention that they're Muslims. They won't mention where they're from. And that makes them good people. Not good because they're actually solving any problems or protecting anybody, but good because they, on their bingo card of what makes you a moral person, they've checked all those boxes according to their lefty nonsense. It's disgusting. Thank God it's changing in the UK, and they're getting these batshit crazy lefties out of office. I mean, this is just this guy Basil's exactly right. I don't know that there's a headline that sums it up as well as this. Egyptian illegal migrant 42 who rapes woman in Hyde Park while living in the Hilton Hotel is a convicted Islamic terrorist. Yeah, sure. Come on in. Come on in. We're not even going to check. We don't even care. We just know that you're brown, and that it makes us a good person to let you into our country, right? This is all This is how moronic this line of thinking is. So now, so that they can feel like they are good, tolerant, all loving people, they let a woman get raped. And they still end up being, and then they're still the good person. You know, or any number of these headlines where they talk about, where's that one? Oh, maybe I didn't save it. Basically, it says three British men accused of raping women or whatever, and it ended up being it wasn't three British men, it's three Muslims, but they didn't mention their names. They refused to talk about it. That's the kind of dishonesty people are fed up with. Just be honest. Who is it? What's their name? Why do they? We have a problem with this community. Okay, we got to deal with that problem. You can't solve the problem unless you get detailed about it. But they don't even want to go there. They don't want to have those conversations, you know. They don't, you know, and it doesn't matter. There could be thousands of rapes by the exact same group of people and zero by every other group, and they would still say, well, we can't talk about it. We can't do it. We can't talk about it. That would be really meany of us and intolerant. Well, yeah. So, are you actually interested in the safety of your citizens or not? No, they're not. They're interested in getting their political stickers on their paper. It's pathetic. I mean, just look at the way that these people think.
Go jump on the treadmill. I'm just happy you on my panel some paper and say what these people act like. That's all. Go. I don't care. Please. You insult my prophet, and you insult my prophet. You insult my prophet. Go executed. You are executed. You get this when you execute the prophet, and I don't take that. I don't apologize for that. You're disgracing the honor of our prophet. You get this. Shut your bliss out, John.
Yeah. Right. We want people like this in our societies. Stay in the Middle East. You know, with this kind of 6th century logic. You say something I don't like about my religion, you die. There's no room for that in the West. And then they're loading up on these people. But things are changing, you know, like this. This is a Le Pen rally in France. Look at all those people. France has had enough. They're fed up. Rightly so. Their leaders failed them. Macron's a moron. Oh, good for them. Good for them. Keep it up. Oh, this is the story I was talking about. 3 men charged with raping woman at Popular Beach. Well, it turns out their names are all this and Abdullah this. Now, to the surprise of no one. The UK has now become the rape capital of Europe. Did you know that? Yeah. Good job, Starmer. Such a great legacy you're leaving. Not just him, but, you know, the last 20 years of leadership over there. Fucking disaster. Just crazy. All right, guys. Well, that looks like that's all I've got for you today. I appreciate you listening to my rant. I'm going to try to be on here every day. So if you can join me again, make sure you subscribe, comment, like, and that way you'll get alerted when I go live and any new videos I put on there. So, all right. Appreciate it. Have a good one.